A lot of my focus was around, okay, if I don't get my full-time job back, how am I going to survive on what I already know? So how am I going to survive on podcasting? How am I going to survive on stand-up comedy? How am I going to survive on acting? How am I going to survive with my side hustle, which is a CBD business? How am I going to survive with my, I talked about this in my last episode. It's called Womandela. I have a site called womandela.com, and I sell pouches and bags made from East African women and South African women, and then I send the proceeds back to them. And so I'm trying to figure out like how to prioritize this and how to do all of this stuff.
You're listening to Creative Breakthrough, the podcast that provides you with the strategies to elevate your creative passion to the next level. I'm your host, creative hustler, and chicken wing lover, Shireen Kassam, aka the Funny Brown Girl. And yes, I have an unhealthy obsession with chicken wings. Now, get ready to flex your creative muscle and keep winning.
Hey, welcome back to the Creative Breakthrough podcast. I am so excited to be back with you guys. It has been a long 3 months, and I say long because I totally didn't even realize 3 months had flown by. For those of you who are new to the show, welcome, welcome, welcome. To those of you who have been with me since day one, I am so grateful to you. I'm so thankful. It was so exciting to continue to watch this podcast over the last 3 months. For those of you who just need a reminder real quick, because sometimes I do too, I took a break on June 3rd. This podcast went into summer break on June 3rd, and it is now September 10th, and we are back with season 3. And it was just so exciting to see over the last 3 months that people continue to keep listening to this podcast. People kept leaving reviews. People kept emailing me. And it was so great to see how much people really appreciate this content, and people are still behind it and still listening to this content, even when I'm not putting out new episodes. So I'm so thankful and grateful to you guys for showing me that this information is useful to you, because I work off of your feedback. I work off of your energy. And so you guys telling me what you like and didn't like really helps me. So thank you for all the emails that you guys sent during the break, all the DMs and the messages and the Facebook comments. I loved it all. Please, please, please keep it coming. So I did take a break on June 3rd for this podcast. I needed a break emotionally, just to give you a picture of where we were on June 3rd. I had no job. I'd been furloughed from my job, which means I'd been laid off, but I got health insurance. It was nice to have a break. Like, I won't lie. It was a little nice to be on a break from work. Because in your adult life, you don't really get a break from work anymore, right? You don't get summer vacation or Christmas break. And so it was kind of fun. There was a lot of anxiety because I didn't know if I was ever going to get called back into work. And I am happy to say that last week I was called back into work. So I'm in my second week of being back into work, which is so difficult to be back on a structure again and having to wake up and like force myself to go to bed on time, because I got really used to waking up a little later and like staying up really late. And I realized like I'm the most creative between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. And again, now I'm back at work again, I don't know, I need to refigure out that schedule, but it was really nice, to be able to be creative for that period of time. Again, but super anxious, lots of anxiety, figuring out like, do I need to start job hunting? How do I pay my rent? Like, what's going to happen? So a lot of questions. And I spent a lot of time watching TV, curled up on the couch, eating junk food, trying not to cry, thinking about my future. So if this is you, don't feel bad about it. Like I said, we are in a really weird time. Like, this is such a weird time. 2020, like, take care of yourself. I mean, I had all these goals set out for myself, what I was going to accomplish between being furloughed and then when I was going to start back to work. And I didn't know when I was going to start back to work. So I made sure I planned things out until October to kind of figure out what I was going to do. And I'm going to share that with you in a minute. But June 3rd, so I didn't have a job. COVID had kind of finished in Florida by this time, in the sense that everybody was like back to normal. Like, everybody was out and about. There was no social distancing. Nobody was wearing a mask. It was really bad. And then our cases started to go up here in Florida and started to go up and up and up. And we actually at one point had the most cases per day and per week in the United States as a state. And so things got a little strict around here again. We do have to wear a mask everywhere we go. People still don't want to do it because of political reasons. And there is supposed to be social distancing. You don't really see that as much, but things kind of got a little bit more serious come July. So that's still an anxious thing because I haven't been able to perform comedy. The comedy clubs are open in Orlando now. You can go and perform comedy, but I still don't feel comfortable. I still feel that I would be taking a risk, especially because my parents are high risk patient or people. June 3rd, a couple weeks before June 3rd, maybe a week, 10 days, there was the killing of George Floyd by the police officer who put his knee on his neck and killed him. And I really wanted to take the time and do something to help the movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. And what's really shocking about the Black Lives Matter movement is like no matter how much work we put into it, how much we protest, how many dialogues we're having, how many discussions we're having, it's still happening. Like in the last 3 months, there's been more Black men who have been killed at the hands of police officers. And I honestly am at a point where I'm not sure how to use my voice anymore, or how to help, or how to educate people. And so that's still something that I'm working on. But yeah, so now we're on September 10th. So how did I spend my 3 months? Well, I made a whole laundry list of things that I wanted to do, and I think I made it through about 80% of it. A lot of my focus was around, okay, if I don't get my full-time job back, how am I going to survive on what I already know? So how am I going to survive on podcasting? How am I going to survive on stand-up comedy? How am I going to survive on acting? How am I going to survive with my side hustle, which is a CBD business? How am I going to survive with my, I talked about this in my last episode. It's called Womandela. I have a site called womandela.com, and I sell pouches and bags made from East African women and South African women, and then I send the proceeds back to them. And so I'm trying to figure out like how to prioritize this and how to do all of this stuff. So a couple things that I did get done is if you go to funnybrown.girl.com, which is my website where you can also find this podcast, I have redone the entire website. So let me know what you think, because I really stretched myself on this one and it took way longer than I thought it was going to take, but I think it looks really good. I also created an ebook. It's actually a workbook that goes along with this podcast. So if you are trying to elevate your creative journey and you want a place to take some notes, get some more advice, get some more one-on-one attention, highly, highly, highly encourage you to download the workbook. It goes along with this podcast, like I mentioned.
Hey, it's me, Shireen. Sorry to interrupt. Creative Breakthrough listeners, are you enjoying this episode? If so, I have a quick favor. Could you leave us a review, whether on Apple, SoundCloud, or whatever platform you're listening from? It's a great way to pay it forward and let other creatives know about the show. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, I'll get back to the original interview now. Thanks. Bye.
I have the CBD business. I was able to grow that 3x, so 3 times what it was doing in January, February to what it is doing today, which has been awesome because I learned so much along the way. And it was funny because a lot of it was stretching myself. Like I didn't know a lot of these things, like how to do email marketing, how to do social media marketing, how to do SEO, and all of those skills are transferable to this podcast now. And so now I can use all those skills that I learned and see how can I build my email base for the podcast, and how can I build more traffic to the website using SEO. And so that was a really cool chance to get to sit down and do that. There's a summer camp that happens every year, and it's focused for Muslim high school students. And it usually happens, from what I understand, there's a camp in Kenya, there's a camp in Tajikistan, and then there's a camp in India over the summer months for high school students from around the world to come together and just and interact and be with each other and learn about pluralism and different cultures. But they also take different classes around entrepreneurship and social responsibility and culture and arts. And so this year, for the first time, they were going to offer a stand-up comedy class. And so the camp was virtual, which was a shame because I would have really loved to do this live. But they asked me to teach the stand-up comedy class, which I will say, when they asked, I was a little hesitant because I love stand-up comedy and I love performing stand-up comedy, but I have never taught stand-up comedy, and I didn't even know how do you start. Like, where do you start teaching from? Like, what is the first thing you need to know, right? And so I was lucky. I had a couple mentors who agreed to help me, and we fleshed out a curriculum. And I had about 20 students, and they were from all over the world. And when I say all over, I mean I had kids from Russia, Syria, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, United Kingdom, Qatar, Canada, United States, and I'm probably missing a few countries. But a really big population of kids from Russia, and they were hilarious. I mean, they were so funny. It was like, I didn't even know how to like help them get better because I was like, you guys are so funny already. But what was great is like, these are high school students and they get to learn what stand-up comedy is. They get introduced to stand-up comedy. I didn't know what stand-up comedy was until I was in my mid-20s. So I was a little jealous, but so blessed to be part of that learning and part of that opportunity. My alma mater, Brown University, reached out to me to see if I wanted to mentor some juniors and seniors at university who didn't get an internship for the summer because of COVID or whose internship was canceled. So they asked me if I could create a project for them and let them intern for me. So I did that for the summer. So I had 7 interns, which is exhausting, but it was a lot of fun just continuing to sharpen my leadership skills and my management skills and just really learning from them because like they're a younger generation. So there was things that they were like, we should do this and we should do that. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, go make a TikTok video. I don't know. I did get TikTok. I downloaded TikTok. I made a TikTok video. I realized I'm too old to make TikTok videos. So I stopped making TikTok videos. I worked on my one-woman show. I mentioned this in June. I really wanted to get a one-woman show done. And the idea was to get it done and then do Zoom calls and go over drafts and finalize it. I am not that far with it because, as I said, I watched a lot of TV and ate a lot of junk food. And while I was writing at night, I didn't write as much as I should have because my one hand was probably in the popcorn bowl. And yeah, so that's what I spent 3 months doing. And like I mentioned, I am back at work now and doing this podcast again. So I'm super excited, super hyped. This podcast, for those of you who are new, this podcast is all about elevating your creative career. So I interview successful creatives of color who provide informal mentorship to help you elevate, to help you, give you strategies to win, give you inspiration to win. And this season, we have such an awesome lineup of guests. I'm going to tell you who they are, okay? So this season, we have Bob Sumner, the founder of Def Comedy Jam and comedy legend. Google him if you don't know him. Super amazing guy. He's done so much for the comedy scene just in general. We have Jamie Kalika. He's the actor on the popular Tyler Perry series Ruthless. We have Saqib Keval. He's the chef and founder of the restaurant Masala y Maíz in Mexico City, which has been named one of the world's greatest places by Time magazine. We have Nelu Honda, actress and writer from the Netflix show Working Moms. And we have Ali Velshi, the host of the MSNBC show Velshi and the Last Word. And Ali Velshi, I am like, this is like, you know how when you're doing something in your life and you have that one goal, that one aspiration, that one person that you want to interview, that is Ali Velshi. And that is not to say that the other people, I'm not excited to interview them, but my dad is an Ali Velshi fan. And if you come from an immigrant family, this might make more sense to you, but my dad does not listen to this podcast. My dad doesn't believe in why I would waste my time doing a podcast. He doesn't like the fact that I do stand-up comedy. And even though he's coming around with that, like he's come around so much with that. But Ali Velshi is that one guy my dad does not stop talking about. Like he has a bro crush on Ali Velshi. And he has not stopped asking me about the Ali Velshi interview since I did it. And so this will be the first time my dad listens to this podcast, to listen to Ali Velshi. And so I'm just super excited about Ali Velshi just because it's allowing my dad to see another side of me and to accept it and then hopefully he has good feedback about it. I was super nervous interviewing Ali Velshi. I won't lie, and you might be able to tell when you listen to it. But yeah, that's going to be super exciting when that episode comes out. I'm also going to start doing solo episodes. A lot of people were in the same boat as me, laid off from their jobs or unemployed, or stand-up comedy clubs have been closed, theaters have been closed, bars have been closed. So for those of you who are musicians, and so that stream of income has been taken away from us. And so for me, during this time, I really had to think of new ways to create income, right? To create different streams of income. And so I'm going to spend solo episodes in this season talking about different ways to create streams of income, but also really just how to make your creative passion your profession. A lot of people say to me, I want to be a full-time creative, right? But what does that mean? And how do you get there? How do you get there? Not just in terms of your talent and in terms of luck, but how do you get there financially as well? And so we're going to do solo episodes where I'm going to talk about shifting your mindset and how to monetize your creativity and how to monetize your art and et cetera, like that. I'm going to leave you guys with that. I know that was a lot. Again, if you want to drop me a message or say hello, feel free to do that. You can reach me at hi@funnybrown girl.com or message me on social media. You can find me anywhere at Funny Brown Girl. And again, if you know anyone who would be interested in this podcast, please, please, please hit the share button right now. If you're using Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, there's a share button on the app. Just hit the share button, text it to your friend, email it to them, post it on your social media. I really want people to find this podcast because I think there's so much great information here. And I want to share the wealth. I want to help people get to the top. I want to help people understand what are the strategies to win. How can they navigate this industry? How can they navigate their creative passion and their creative journey to get there? So please, please, please share it. And if you haven't already, please leave a review. Reviews really help us get found as well on Apple Podcast. And all that said, now go flex your creative muscle and keep winning.
Thanks for listening. Stay connected about upcoming resources, including opportunities, festivals, competitions, and grants to help you grow your creative passion by subscribing to my bi-monthly newsletter by visiting funnybrown.com/subscribe. Don't miss out on a life-changing opportunity and subscribe today at funnybrown.com/subscribe. And hey, if you decide to go on Instagram today, follow me. I'm Funny Brown Girl. I'm Shireen Kassam, and you've been listening to Creative Breakthrough. Now, go flex your creative muscle and keep winning.